It is Tuesday, September 30th, the last day of the month of September, almost TJ's 79th birthday. And, it really sucks. It's a horribly slow time in sports, isn't it? Nothing going on. We don't have players during playoffs calling out leadership of other leagues. We have baseball playoffs. We have James Franklin being James Franklin. The MetLife's turf has struck again. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I don't know where we're going to finish, but I know we got a hell of a lot to talk about tonight. So thanks for joining us. If you're watching the Yankees and the Red Sox, bottom of the eighth in the Bronx, Anthony Volpe is still working on his dance moves over at first base. And Aroldis Chapman in for the Red Sox here as this one looks like it's going to be an interesting finish. It's been an interesting and fun day of playoff baseball, guys, coming off of a weekend that was every bit as advertised, as loaded. And as I said, there's plenty of stuff we can talk about tonight. We're going to get to all of that, as much of it as we possibly can. We'll start in the college football world. We'll move into the NFL. Of course, it's Tuesday, so we got some trust issues that we have to deal with. And then we're going to catch you up on everything that's happened so far today in the wild card situation in baseball, and then get you set up for the game that's coming up here in just a little bit. But of course, I'm not by myself, because I have to be supervised at all times. In the middle, the man in the middle with the Red Sox shirt on, Vegas Mac, what is up?
I'm just going through the envelope here to make sure that everything is good, because envelopes play an important part of sports, as we know. Sorry. Here's the thing, and if as a sports fan, the one thing that we always want our teams to do is make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, it's tough watching the playoff games. I'll tell you, you live and die by every single second that goes on. So, there are times where it's like, your team doesn't make the playoffs, so you kind of enjoy the playoffs. It's hard to enjoy this. It's a rough little bit going right here. It's playing your arch rival and whatnot. It's fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's stressful.
T, I feel like that was a direct shot at the other two guys on this show whose teams, neither one of which have managers and are not in the playoffs right now. That's how I took it.
I'm thoroughly enjoying these playoffs, Mac. I'm thoroughly enjoying them. But as they say, you can't lose in the playoffs if you don't make the playoffs. So I've got that going for me.
It's also the James Franklin theory of how to prepare for big games, and we'll get to that here in just a second. We'll keep you up to date if we've got some wandering eyes here. I can guarantee you Max got wandering eyes, and why wouldn't he? The Red Sox are playing the freaking Yankees right now, so I have a lot of Yankee fan friends, as do you, T. I don't know if you've gotten the same texts. We're on YouTube, so I could probably read a couple of the ones I've gotten during this game. I'm going to probably say no, and I'll just paraphrase them as we go. But again, we'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on there. But we are going to start. Oh, collision almost in center field there. We are going to start in the college football world, guys. And what a weekend it was! It lived up to the hype from the start of the day in Champaign with the big game in the morning to the end of the night. Everything went exactly as advertised as far as the quality of the games. We've got our first Mac-12 out. That came out just a little bit ago on our social channels at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat. T, why are we not on Snapchat for the people joining us for the first time this evening?
Because Snapchat sucks and we're not 12.
That's exactly it. Actually, and I need to kind of walk back something I said. It technically started on Friday night with the two games on Friday night that were fantastic, TCU and Arizona State, and then a double overtime game between Florida State and Virginia. Florida State may be caught peeking ahead to their clash with Miami this weekend a little bit as they go down at Charlottesville. I don't know about you guys. I wanted to start with this. Anyways, I'm all for storming the field. That being said, when you've got a receiver down in the corner of the end zone and one of your team's own defensive backs in the corner of an end zone by a hill that has zero protection from blocking fans on the field, I think there's certain things that need to be done. Squirrel White was the wide receiver that Florida State was targeting, and he disappeared under a sea of college students as soon as that game was over. But kind of a timely, costly loss for Florida State. I don't think my opinion on Florida State has changed, but it could after this weekend when they clash with Miami, Mac. That was a hell of a scene in Charlottesville.
Yeah, I mean, when that happened, I mean, a lot of people made fun of it, on the internet, like, oh my gosh, he's buried underneath all those people. But that's got to be a scary. I think for both teams, I think even for the home team, sometimes that's a scary situation. I mean, you could just see that crowd just, I mean, they were like shot out of a cannon. So yeah, I mean, I think I think it's great. I mean, I think I don't mind it. I think it's part of it. I just think when you know it's going to happen, it can be controlled a little bit better. I think that's one thing we need to look at. But yeah, I mean, that was a great start to the whole weekend of college football, and like you said, a lot of it, a lot of the hype. Sometimes it doesn't live up to it, but there were some really good games, and not just the big games. A lot of the other games that we saw this past weekend were really good.
T, does it change your opinion on Florida State? They dropped the game to what looks like a decent Virginia team. They're now 4-1, but I don't. For me, like I said, I don't think it does. I think this weekend will tell me a lot more about that Florida State team because Miami is a freaking wagon, dude.
Well, yeah, and if Virginia, you know what, we're gonna know in probably a couple of weeks, depending on what happens with Virginia's season and what happens this weekend when Florida State plays you. But no, right now, no changes. I still think that they're a hell of a lot better than last year, but not quite good enough.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. The other game on Friday night saw the Sun Devils earn their way back into the AP Top 25 after knocking off TCU, and it was kind of a weird weather day here in the Valley, and streets flooded outside Mountain America Stadium before that game started. Didn't seem to dull the crowd at all, and it kind of dulled the Arizona State start to the game, but they came on strong in a pretty goofy finish there, and they get the win over TCU 27-24, a very entertaining game. Jordan Tyson, I don't think there's any debate who the first wide receiver taken in this next April's NFL draft is. 8 catches, $126, and 2 touchdowns. Sam Levitt finally kind of played a Sam Levitt game. I think we had talked about that even on Friday, Mac, on the show. Getting Sam Levitt finally going. He had a kind of a sluggish start to the year, 27-39 for 291 and 2 touchdowns. And then, I mean, ASU is starting to put it together here, and again, they got their way back into the top 25 in what TJ has said for the last couple weeks is an extremely competitive Big 12 conference.
Yeah, I mean, and it's starting to look a little bit like last year. It was the same thing. They kind of got off to a slow start in the season, and then they kind of picked it up. The only thing I'd like to, you start to see patterns with certain teams, and you're starting to see with ASU, and you saw it a little bit last year as well. I just don't like the way they start games. They seem like they get behind, whether it's at home or on the road, a lot. And I mean, that's just, I mean, again, all the credit to them. They played well. They came from behind in a game that they really didn't look like they had a chance to win, and they came back. But I'd like to see them come out and try to get on top for once in some of these games.
Yeah. Are the Devils back, T?
I think they're pretty darn close. Like Max said, they just got to find some way to start like they're finishing. And if they could do that, their lives would be a whole hell of a lot easier. Luckily, they have a week off, and then they go to Salt Lake. That'll be another tough matchup. I mean, this conference, even though Utah got the crap beat out of them by Texas Tech, I still think it's a decent Utah team.
Yeah, and as you said, the next game for ASU is at Utah. Then they have Texas Tech. Then they have Houston. Then they're at Iowa State. So it's really kind of quote unquote nut cutting time, if you will, for the Devils here. TCU looks to bounce back, and I think they're still going to be a factor as well. They get Colorado this weekend. Then they're at Kansas State. Then they play Baylor. Then they're at Morgantown. So a little bit easier path, at least in a couple of those games. For the Frogs. And then when we went to Saturday, man, and I think this is where we'll start our highlights of the weekend because it started early, it finished late, and top to bottom, it was all the way through. So let's get started with some of our highlights from the weekend. And if you have any of them to share how your team did this weekend before we talk about our MAC-12 rankings that you will see coming across the bottom of the screen there. We had a nice graphic, but technology is not my friend today, so they're just on the bottom of the screen. Let's start with your highlight, one of your highlights of the weekend, Mac, from the college football slate.
I went, my first highlight was Indiana winning at Iowa. And I mean, it's one of those things, people will look at it a couple of different ways, but we said it on the show last week. It was for Indiana the first time on the road, and first time on the road to have to go to a place like Iowa. It's not easy. Playing in Iowa is not easy. I don't care who you are. That is a tough place to play. And, listen, they did what they had to do. And the Mendoza Heisman train is starting to get some momentum, baby. That's all I got to say. That Mendoza Heisman train. I think I'm gonna buy a ticket and maybe get on that train, Mike. But I thought it was a really good win for Indiana. Again, all we've heard from last year, Indiana doesn't play anybody. Indiana doesn't. I mean, come on. I mean, at some point we got to get over that. They went and played at a tough place to play at Iowa and grind out a really good win.
Yeah, the 49-yard touchdown from Fernando Mendoza to Elijah Surratt with 1:28 left to play kind of put him up. Fernando Mendoza took a safety and then apologized to all the bettors for taking the safety, for blowing up some parlay cards. It didn't affect me because, as we've talked about a lot, and why we do liquid locks specifically on Tuesdays on this show, and if you saw the interview that I did with Bill Krackenberger last Thursday, he talked about exactly this. If you want to get on these games and you want to jump on these games early, you got to do it early. And I talked about it last week. I was frustrated that I didn't jump on the Indiana line before it moved over 7. It wouldn't have mattered because of the safety there, but again, that's that fine line, T, when you're looking at some of these games, to get on them before all the sharps and everybody start betting the big money and they start moving numbers.
Well, and get on them when you find a number that you like, and get on it when, before any. I mean, if you grab something on Tuesday, who knows what's going to happen in practice the next 3 or 4 days? Mm-hmm. Who knows what, we kind of have an idea of what the weather's going to be like. But if there's some adverse weather that rolls in that nobody expects, that can affect the play and also the line as well. So, just like you said, get on it early, man.
Before your highlight of the weekend, T, I knew this one was coming, so we've got some Yankees, Red Sox back and forth going on here. So Billy V, you'll know exactly what happens. I know you're watching the game, but you'll also catch Mac's reaction to what happens here. If he falls off a chair, then I think our listening audience will know that they got to Chapman. Still top of the 9th, runner on second for the Sox right now, reviewing a play at second base. Can't hear the umpire, but he said safe. So, T, give me one of your highlights from the weekend.
I couldn't help but laugh at USC gacking it up in Champaign this weekend. I mean,
but they had to play so early.
So USC decided to make this move to this conference. You knew it was coming. 9 a.m. starts, 8 p.m. starts, cross-country travel over 2 to 3 time zones on a weekly basis sometimes. And the defense just laid an egg at the end. It was heartbroken, but not. Lincoln Riley, though, like we talk about people who get all these accolades Lincoln Riley is that quickly going up that list for me, because he has not shown me at USC that he can win big games.
Mac, you just mentioned Fernando Mendoza and jumping on the Heisman train, and I thought there were some guys really, and when we get these premier weekends like we had, there's a lot of guys that played themselves into the top of the Heisman conversation. A guy who I think should be there, we know it's kind of a quarterback award, but Mekhi Lemon was freaking ridiculous in that game for USC as Alex Bregman knocks one off the wall in Yankee Stadium. Does that make it 3-1, Mac? Yes, it does.
3-1, yes.
But Mekhi Lemon, 11 catches, $151, 2 touchdowns. Jaden Maiava, 364, 2 touchdowns. Again, in a losing effort, I get it. But some of the throws that Maiava had to make with the pressure that Illinois was bringing right in his face, back foot throws, leaving Mekhi out, oftentimes they're called hospital balls, and he has no fear. Just went up and got everything. That kid is an absolute stud, and if USC can right the ship and they can hang around long enough, whether it's this year or next year, I think you're going to end up seeing his name towards the top of a lot of those boards. For me, guys, I had one highlight. I mean, the whole weekend was fantastic. I mean, I'm just scrolling through. The Georgia Tech Wake game was incredible. The Tennessee-Mississippi State game was incredible. Texas A&M Auburn game, I wouldn't call it incredible. It was a good competitive game.
Mm-hmm.
But the 2 night games, and both of them kind of simultaneously, going to their finishes at basically the same time, which is obviously what the word simultaneously means, you idiot. But, to see the Oregon-Penn State game in the way that finished, and to see the Georgia-Bama game, especially the second half in the Georgia-Bama game, I thought was really interesting. I jumped into the feed on our guys, Herb and Raj, their live watch party of that game. Really entertaining. Again, if you haven't followed them, go follow them. The guys have a good time, and obviously you'll see them on our programming a lot. But, I get it. When we talk about James Franklin's record in big games against top teams, I think there is some context that has to be brought into it. A lot of these times that he's gone into those games against top 10 teams, they haven't been the favorite. They've been the underdog. And I'm not one that's really subscribed to a lot of that theory until after this weekend. You had a week off. You had a team coming from the West Coast into your building in a hostile environment, in a whiteout that we were told 7,642 times that it was a whiteout during the game. And you have a veteran team and come into your trap, steal your trap, whatever the kids are saying nowadays. That's exactly what Oregon did. And now is when I will be critical of James Franklin for that record. You have a veteran team, a hostile environment, coming across 2 time zones, and you had rest that they didn't have. And where the hell was the play calling for Penn State that we saw in the fourth quarter the entire freaking game? Because if the play calling and the aggression from Penn State from an offensive side was the same way from all the whole time through, we might have had a different outcome. I tend to think that we wouldn't have, but it would have been a way different way to play that freaking game. Oregon gets Atticus Sappington goes down and he misses a kick early. That could have rattled them. But, Dan Lanning is a guy that will lead a championship program. And I know all the Washington fans are out there like, how many national titles does Oregon have? Oh, look at their logo. They have none. I hate to break it to you. Whether you like to admit it or not, Dan Lanning and the Ducks winning a national title is inevitable. Whether it happens this year or it doesn't, that's how you prepare a program for a big-time game. And now their next game against Indiana with rest. I guarantee you in Autzen that Oregon will be ready for that game, unlike Penn State. Matt, give me your second highlight of the weekend.
My second highlight, I went with Ole Miss. I thought that it was a really good win against an LSU team. Ole Miss has Washington State this week, and then they hit the kind of the bump in their road, if you will. They have 2 big road games, so they can't look ahead and take Washington State lightly this week. They have Georgia and Oklahoma the next 2 weeks. But here's the thing about Ole Miss. If they can somehow get through that 2-game set of Georgia and Oklahoma, the rest of their schedule, South Carolina, the Citadel, Florida, and then they finish at Mississippi State, they could be in really good shape. Again, the 2 big bumps at Georgia, at Oklahoma. But I was impressed with what Ole Miss did. I think, we talk about some of these teams, and I kind of put Ole Miss in that category as well. Ole Miss kind of gets pumped up a lot. This is supposed to be a really good team. We know, Lane Kiffin, this, that, and the other thing. Again, what big games have they won? I thought this was a really big game for them to win against, a good LSU, especially defensive team.
Speaking of highlights or lowlights from the weekend, let's stay in that same game, T, because I know you're on the other side of the coin in that one.
Yeah, we keep waiting for LSU to get it together. When are they going to do it? Or maybe they're not. Maybe this is who they are. They ran the ball 19 times against Ole Miss. 19. That doesn't strike me as a recipe for winning. And it's not like they didn't get it's not like, you're getting between 3 and 4 yards a carry. That's not too shabby against Ole Miss, but you do that 3 times and you're moving the chains. But it's like the offense just didn't look like they were interested at all. Mm-hmm. And now we're in game 5, game 6. Like when does this happen for LSU, or is it just going to be a lost offensive season? I don't know.
Lane Kiffin 66-2 when he's up by 10 points or more at halftime, including now 27-0 at Ole Miss. In that Ole Miss defense, everybody wanted to talk about the LSU defense, and rightfully so going into that game. That Ole Miss defense is damn good. Austin Simmons might be looking at a Wally Pipp situation at Ole Miss there, because that offense with Trinidad Chambliss hasn't skipped a beat, has looked really, really good. I think, and I hesitate to do this because Mac, you kind of just alluded to it. We've talked about this before with the Rebels. It's, and then they go and they'll drop a road game to freaking Florida that they shouldn't lose late in the season kind of thing. I think this might actually be the best team that Lane Kiffin has at Ole Miss, and it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of move themselves forward. This morning, or this afternoon, I should say, our first Mac-12 rankings dropped, and, again, we had a graphic for this, but technology is not cooperating with me today, and I think we were all pretty uniform for the most part, at least in the 1, 2, 3 spot. I mean, we all had the same 3 teams. We all had them in a little bit different of an order, as it literally is scrolling across the bottom of the screen right there. Oregon, Miami, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Indiana, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Alabama, Georgia. Actually, Alabama, I screwed that up somehow. But as you can see there, we pretty uniform at the top, pretty uniform all the way through. And I think last weekend told us a lot about a lot of these teams, including a team like Alabama, that again continues to be the kryptonite for Georgia. And Ty Simpson, man, every week he looks more comfortable and more comfortable and more comfortable. Played a hell of a freaking game for Alabama last week. That was big, not just for him going forward and his confidence, but for Bama in general. And now they get a game that, we're talking about going back to the 1930s, the last time that Alabama and Vandy were both ranked at the same time. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored, but a big weekend there. So if you see our Mac-12 going across the bottom of the screen, who is the number 1 team in the country? Is it Miami? Is it Ohio State? Is it Oregon? Is it first and second for the Yankees with nobody out in the bottom of the 9th inning? That I can confirm is actually factual there. But what did you see when you looked, Mac? And I'll start with you, because you did have in your rankings, your personal rankings, before we pulled all 3 of us together, you have it Miami, Oregon, and Oklahoma 1, 2, 3, with Ohio State 4th. How did you fall on those, and what was the hardest decision?
I kept Miami just at number 1. Obviously, not having anything to do with this past week. For me, I keep saying it. I look at who you played and how you played against those teams, and I mean that's for me, for Oregon to go into Penn State. Say what you want about Penn State, I think that's a very, very impressive victory. No matter what, and then the same with Ole Miss. So Miami and Oklahoma again on a bye. I can't dock them for not playing. So I had them there last week before we did the 12, and I kept them there, but I kind of moved Oregon and Ole Miss up. That's kind of my thinking on that. I want to see. I mean, there's hardly any more freebies now. I mean, we're into the heart of the league schedule, 1 or 2 here and there, but for the most part, there's nothing free the rest of the way. These teams in these big conferences week after week are going to have, like you said, iron sharpening iron. It's going to be rough for, big winning streaks to happen. And when they do, you have to reward those teams.
Now, I know you have a master's degree, Mac, in reverse psychology, and you're not superstitious. You're just a little stitious. So do you want to keep talking, because now the bases are loaded in the Bronx with nobody out in the 9th inning?
I'm not even watching, so I'd rather not. I'm just waiting for the do to come through, and then I'll know.
T, we flip-flopped 1 and 2. Both of us, Ohio State and Oregon. Tell me why Ohio State is still the number 1 team in your eyes.
5.5. That's the reason, Mike. That's the number of points that Ohio State has given up per game this year. They went to Washington, and I totally biffed this one because I thought this was going to be quite the score fest. I thought Ohio State going across the country, would run into problems in Washington, and I was dead bleeping wrong. They pretty much snuffed out everything that Washington had going, and their defense is incredible. And people look at, oh, they haven't played any, but yeah, okay, you Grambling and Ohio, but you gave up 7 to Texas, and you've given up 6 to a decent Washington team. I think this defense is for real.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same. I have the same thought, I guess, if you will, on Oregon. Defensively, incredible. Other than we saw them have a sleepwalking fourth quarter on the road at Northwestern. We saw them, when the game should have been put away this past Saturday, kind of fall asleep in the fourth quarter as well. But now we've seen them handle their business, and we talk about it all the time, and I think this kind of echoes the same thing you said about Ohio State. You got to play the teams that are on your schedule. Obviously, in college football, there's a little more control over that than there's not. I don't fault a team like an Ohio State for, tossing in a game against Grambling and Ohio and stuff like that, because when you're playing a loaded schedule every year, I get it. You need a couple. Thanks a lot, Stanton. I didn't need a home run out of you or anything like that. But I've seen them now go into Happy Valley and win during a whiteout. I've seen them handle their business against a piss poor Oregon State team, and a piss poor Oklahoma State team. I saw them go on the road in a kind of a goofy environment and handle Northwestern. I've seen everything that I need to see about this team, and it's why I said it at the beginning of the year. But I think Oregon is a legit threat to win a national title. And if you go back to Dan Lanning's track record since he's been at Oregon, 3 losses, 2 losses, 1 loss. And I told you guys exactly what I thought was going to happen. And right now they're completely on pace for an undefeated season. So not quite the slate this weekend. It's not as loaded, but I mean, thank God. I think we all need a chance to catch our breath. It'll help us kind of keep an eye on baseball and stuff like that. But there are some good games on the schedule. I'm sure a couple of those are going to come up here in just a little bit when we get to our liquid locks. Now let's move to the National Football League. And of course, on Tuesdays, we have trust issues, guys. And let's start with the trust issues before we go any farther. And T, I'll start with you. Who is one of the teams that you have trust issues with?
My first one is the Minnesota Vikings. I know that they're missing their starter with McCarthy, but this team is to this right now. They are not very good on offense, and they had every opportunity. Pittsburgh gave them every single chance to win that game, and they couldn't take advantage of it. And we talked about on this show a while back how Kevin O'Connell might be one of the top 3 coaches in this league. Well, he's going to have to do a hell of a motivation job to get this team through the next month.
Yeah, and I think it's a detriment to all of us as football fans here. When we talk about the 2 things, let me say this first. Appropriately, that game was played in Ireland because the way the 2 head coaches handled the last 7 minutes of that game looked like a bunch of drunken Irish people in a pub, because there were a couple of the dumbest damn decisions I've ever seen out of NFL head coaches at the end of games there. But on the flip side, we have 2 of the best wide receivers of the current generation, ironically, both from LSU, in Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, who are now stuck in the start of the prime of their careers with shitty at best quarterback play for both of them. And you saw it last night during the game with the Broncos and the Bengals, the frustration for Jamar Chase. You saw a little bit of that on Sunday from Justin Jefferson. And for Justin Jefferson's sake, they have to stay across the pond. They're in London this weekend to take on a Browns defense that, is not great. Trent Grisham, the final hope for the Yankees, 2 outs, bases loaded, bottom of the 9th inning from the Bronx. But yeah, I think it really sucks for us as football fans to see that. And I think you're right on the Minnesota situation. That defense is going to keep them in a lot of games because Brian Flores runs a great defensive program there. But I think it's gonna be a long year from an offensive standpoint. Matt, give me one of your teams with trust issues.
Um, yeah, sorry, little distracted. Yeah, I know. This is what I'm talking about. This is not fun. This is not fun at all. I don't know why why do we put ourselves through this? This is not fun at all.
You just have to like teams that don't make the playoffs.
Jeez, I'm crow.
Look at me and T.
Yeah.
Our faces aren't red. We're fine.
I know.
I got nothing.
I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. This is a team that I thought was going to be absolutely fantastic this year. I thought they were going to be take the AFC by storm, get to the Super Bowl, and on and on. And this team is in shambles. And I kind of put it. I said it's like a season on the brink already. Their offensive line looks terrible. Lamar does not look good, and I don't know if that's because is hurt. If it's the offensive line, there's no continuity in this. Their defense is actually worse. And now we know that they're losing even more defenders for the season. Yes. Yes. Wellness. Yes. Take that. Yeah.
If you can't tell, it's just gone final from the Bronx.
Yes.
Sox take game 1, 3-1.
One more. All right. Like I was saying. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Baltimore. Sorry. And T, you said this I think a couple weeks ago. Like their defense isn't good. I mean, you used to think that if they needed a stop, they were going to get a stop. Mm-hmm. I don't see that. This team right. Yeah, that was a pitching clinic. This team is in trouble. This team is absolutely in trouble. 1-3. Just the way the North is, they're going to drop a few more games. I mean, I hate to say it. I'm not sure of that they're going to be a playoff team at this point. I'm really not. Sorry.
Go ahead,
T. I got something for him.
I said at the beginning of when we were doing our previews, man, that this was going to be a critical stretch for the Ravens because they played the Lions, the Chiefs, then the Texans, and the Rams. So you had 4 playoff teams in a row, and you'd have 3 of them at home. So far, they're 0-2, and you've got the Texans. You got the Texans this week, and then the Rams next week. I think the Rams are better than what I thought they were going to be. I don't think the Texans are nearly as bad as they started. So yes, Mac, this team is in trouble, and this team does not inspire the confidence on defense that they once did, and that's a problem. You call it. I go back to when they let Patrick Queen go to the Steelers. I look at that, and that's kind of where this seems to have gone off the rails. I know there's been other things, but I point to that as the signature move that's caused this thing to go off the rails.
Yeah, I think for Baltimore, I mean, I know they're playing Houston this week, but I think this is a must win. They're at home. They're playing the Texans. It is. I mean, if they lose this game, I don't know where you go after this because, you've almost put yourself in a situation where not that you have to win out, but boy, you can't drop too many more games. And like I said, they're going to drop a game or two within the division.
Yeah, and I think you're dead on with Patrick Queen. I'll tell you exactly where this thing started, and that guy's smiling ear to ear up in the Pacific Northwest. It's Mike Macdonald. Their defense hasn't looked a damn bit the same since Mike Macdonald left, and you see what Mike Macdonald's done with the Seahawks. He's won 9 of his first 10 games as a head coach on the road. And today, for those that didn't see it, because I know a lot of people were locked into the baseball playoffs today, Lamar Jackson, we might be looking at 2 to 3 weeks with this thing, with this hamstring. Also today, here's another reason why they've looked as bad as they have. So bad that it's the worst 4-game start in team history at 1-3. Nnamdi Madubuike is officially out for the rest of the season now with his neck injury. So I think the loss of Mike Macdonald, and again, I took a little bit of crap last year for it because a lot of people couldn't figure out why I was so high on, a lot of people thought I was high on Mike Macdonald and what I thought he could do for the Seahawks as Shohei Ohtani hits another home run. And related news, the day ends in Y, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. But, That's the thing. To me, it all points back. And last year, they started poorly on defense, and they kind of got it together late in the season. But it's the loss of Mike McDonald, and that's been the biggest problem with them. And some guys, we don't know. Mike McDonald looks like he's going to be every bit the head coach I think he's going to be up in Seattle. But for Baltimore, it's that defense definitely looks like they miss Mike McDonald. Trust issues for me, and it's really, I just have one. Because I think we're at the point now where, like we talked about with the schedule last week in college football, I think this is the week, these next 2 weeks is usually in the NFL when I go, okay, we got something going on here. My biggest area of trust issues right now is the run defense in Buffalo. And I know the number is a little inflated because of that week 1 game against the Ravens, but Buffalo's allowing 164.3 yards per game this year on the ground. That is second most in the NFL. And we know, especially when you get late in the year in Buffalo, and it looks like Buffalo's got the roadway is perfectly open and clear for them to be the number 1 seed, and everybody has to come through the Ralph in its final season. But what do you do in Buffalo when it's freaking minus 17 degrees? You run the damn football. Buffalo's run defense has me very concerned for a team that I want to see get to the Super Bowl. I love everything about it. I absolutely love watching Josh Allen play football. There's a lot of dudes on that team that I really like. I think James Cook might be one of the more underrated players in the entire freaking NFL. And that wide receiver group is starting to slowly come together and really become a good unit for them. The last thing I want to see is Buffalo get gashed on the freaking ground in the AFC title game and miss a chance again to go to a Super Bowl when they're knocking on the doorstep. That's my biggest area of trust issues. I guess I have one more, but that's going to come up here in a second when we play Two Truths and a Lie for the first time.
Mike, I was going to say one thing, though. I mean, at the rate that the Bills are scoring points, it's one of those things, too. It's like, I mean, they're every game at 41-30, 31-31. I mean, they're scoring points. And so it's one of those things. It's like it almost takes some of the pressure off of that run defense because, I mean, do those yards that they're giving up, do they matter? That's the only thing that I would say against that. Like, do those yards matter? I mean, sometimes third and fourth quarter plays. I mean, they're backing a little bit of a prevent, if you will, kind of defense, and maybe they're giving up some bigger run numbers just because of where the score is. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it may be.
Sunday Night Football, Buffalo hosts New England, and they're wearing their all-whites rivalry series uniforms, and they're encouraging the fans, because Buffalo fans don't really need any encouragement to match the rivalry jerseys this weekend and have a complete whiteout. It'd be even cooler if it was like a month and a half from now when it was literally a whiteout everywhere. So Buffalo will show Penn State how to perform in a whiteout type environment this weekend, I'm sure. Matt, give me your other trust issue here before we move on.
My trust, and this is kind of a now and kind of a future thing. The Arizona Cardinals. I don't like what they have right now, and to me, that sets a tone for. I don't really like what their future is. I've got a lot of concerns about what this Arizona Cardinals team is from a lot of different aspects. I think they've already wasted a season plus of Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't see the direction that they're going. It's to me right now, this seems like a lost franchise.
Is that one of your Boston named dogs barking in celebration for beating the Yankees?
I think that's Veritek.
No, that would be Duncan. Who's barking.
Of course.
Duncan, yes.
Of course.
Duncan.
Where's Wahlberg? Out back somewhere? See, give me your final trust issue here, and then we're gonna debut Two Truths and a Lie for the first time.
Well, I expected a little bit of regression from this team, but the Washington Commanders just have been a model of inconsistency. I'm hoping that they can get it together. I like watching Jaden Daniels. I actually like watching this whole football team play. So that's my second one. And yeah, there was no way that we could look at the Washington Commanders and expect them to pull off a 14-3 season after last year. You knew that Jaden Daniels was going into his second year. The league is going to figure you out eventually, and then you have to adjust. But this team's just not playing great right now. They blow out the Raiders, and then they lost, and then the Commanders go and lose to the Falcons, another team that's been very up and down. So I don't know. Maybe this is the parity that we're looking for, right? Up one week, down the next.
Yeah, well, and I'm interested to see what exactly is going on with Jaden Daniels' knee, because I'm starting to wonder if it's a little worse than they're telling us, because, you know, we thought there was a chance he might have played last week. He didn't. They're playing a tough road game all the way across the country against the Chargers this week. Then they have the Bears in Chicago on Monday Night Football, and then the Cowboys, where you just have to score the same amount of points as the Cowboys, and you're good for at least a tie. But, you know, I wonder if there's more issues with Washington that are there that don't go away when Jaden comes back, and how bad is his knee, which I think nobody really knows the answer to. So obviously that's something to monitor as the week goes through. We're going to play Two Truths and a Lie, guys, for the first time here. And we're gonna debut it with the San Francisco 49ers edition. The Niners on the short week to take on the Rams in a very competitive, I almost said National League West, in a very competitive NFC West matchup on Thursday. And right now, it looks like the Niners are going to go into that with a very questionable Brock Purdy, who re-aggravated his toe injury at the end of that game on Sunday, right before Liam Cohen tried to fight Robert Saleh on the field, which I don't know why you'd pick a fight with that guy. Probably not a recommended course of action. No Jawan Jennings, it sounds like. No Ricky Pearsall, it sounds like. The Rams coming off of a big win against the Colts. No thanks to A.D. Mitchell for starting a celebration about a yard and a half too early, which screwed some of us out of money. But it's always interesting with this 49ers team. So I'm going to give you guys 3 statements, and you're going to tell me which one of these you believe is the lie. Number 1, San Francisco will win the NFC West. Number 2, San Francisco will go through the backside of their schedule from October on and not lose more than 2 games. And number 3, John Lynch is going to go out and get an offensive lineman and a defensive end through the trade market by the trade deadline. 2 truths and a lie. San Francisco wins the West. San Francisco goes down the stretch and doesn't lose more than 2 games. John Lynch goes and gets an offensive lineman and a defensive end to shore up some of the gaping issues that the 49ers have right now. And if I'm going to put it blunt, the 49ers offensive line sucks. And then you've got Brock Purdy and Mac Jones running for their lives, one of which on 9 toes, the other one on like half of one knee. That's a problem, even with the last place schedule. So, Mac, I'll start with you. What's the one lie in that statement of 3 as it pertains to the San Francisco 49ers?
To me, I think it's that San Francisco wins the NFC West. I do not think that's going to happen. I think too much going on with the injuries. You're starting to fall a little bit into some of those things that you saw last year. I think Seattle's really good, and I think the Rams are really good. I think that would be the lie. I don't think they're going to win the West.
T, what's the lie in the trio of San Francisco statements?
I think the lie is that they'll win. They'll lose 2 games over the back half of their schedule. I just think by the law of averages, this team will lose 4, maybe 5 games this entire season. So just by looking at that, I think that's the lie. I have no doubt that John Lynch is going to add parts to this team. This is a Niners team, as you've said many times, that is trying to get that next title. They want to host that Super Bowl on their home field. And they have, in theory, they have all the parts to do it. They've been there before, but they just can't seem to put it together.
A good place to start would be an interception, because they've now tied an NFL record 11 straight games without an interception. They got one called back on a questionable penalty call, and 2 more that hit Fred Warner in the hands off of some deflections. They weren't able to get one done. I think what you'll see, and I think this is where this is like a really disadvantageous position as I make up words along the way here. You're going to see San Francisco go into this game on Thursday and play it like it is the freaking Super Bowl. Because the one thing that the 49ers have done, despite all the injuries, is they've started 2-0 within the division. You get that third win on Thursday against the Rams, you've got a win over everybody in the division, and you can right the ship till the rest of these guys come back. Malik Mustafa, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, we can go on and on and on and on down the freaking list. The one guy that's not coming back is Nick Bosa. And if you're in the position now that you're John Lynch, who has added to this team a lot, especially during the season, see Christian McCaffrey amongst others, he's going to go out and try and make something happen for him because he has to. I mean, with the last place schedule, with the core of this team locked up, the Super Bowl, as you just said, in Santa Clara, and a last place schedule, it's something that has to be taken advantage of, or you're going to be playing another last place schedule yet again next year. So as we sit here now, the Dodgers up 1-0 in the top of the second inning. In the world's largest outdoor toilet, Chavez latrine. I almost said Levine. Zach Levine. All of the above.
Things.
It's been an interesting day. Not a whole lot of runs scored today. 2-1, 3-1, 3-1 were the three games that we've seen already.
Well, welcome to October.
Yep, exactly. The day started fantastic. Tarek Skubal ties a record for the Tigers with 14 strikeouts today. 5th time he's pitched against the Guardians this season. 5th time. Guardians had a chance late in the game. Javi Baez makes a throwing error. Jose Ramirez gets all the way to third. We know what it is, guys. You're trying to be aggressive, especially in the postseason. Run on contact, but the other part of running on contact is you need to let the ball clear the pitcher, and Ramirez got himself caught in a very, very short and quick game of pickle, and that took the Guardians out of the run. So the Guardians will be looking to stay alive tomorrow in that series. I thought the game in Chicago was another great one. I think those two teams are very evenly matched in that series. The Cubs take that one 3-1 over the Padres, and they get to Nick Pivetta. Very interesting, and this is what I'm going to start with here, and feel free to interject what we just saw in the Red Sox-Yankees game into this conversation, guys. And then there's some other baseball notes that we'll pass along as well. Craig Counsell, he pulls Boyd in the 5th inning, and he goes right to Palencia for a 5-out job. And then I think one of the more underrated moves, guys, that was made at the trade deadline, and you guys know what I feel about this Cubs team and what I have all year. I thought they were going to run away with the Central. I don't think any of us saw what the Brewers were going to do in the Central.
Can be unpredictable.
Monday, your joints hurt. Next one's on your skin.
I don't know who that
It's
is,
painful.
but Sonia's
Couldn't
skin
move like I
sounds
used
like a
to.
painful
I
situation.
have appendix.
Feels
Where the hell is that coming from? It's not from me.
I have no idea.
Poor Sonia and her skin. Anyways, so he goes to Palencia right away. Then he brings in Pomerantz. Andrew Kittredge has been very, very good for the Cubs. And Craig Counsell, a guy who's got a lot of experience in the postseason, not only as a player, but as a manager as well. And you saw how aggressive he's going to be in this series. By the way, can we always have day baseball during the first round of the playoffs at Wrigley Field? That's freaking phenomenal. So interesting to see some of these decisions here. And you saw it in the Yankee-Red Sox game, too. The managerial decisions, the two lefties, all the righties in the lineup, playing for situation. This is what makes... If baseball could bottle this for the entire season, I think people's perception of baseball would change. But it was a fun day of baseball, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I'll go back. I said this last week about Alex Cora. The move that Alex Cora made last week by taking Crochet, moving him in the rotation last week so that he could pitch game 1. Alex Cora was managing for October last week. He's like, listen, I'm going to get in. I'm going to need him for game 1. I want him game 1 at the stadium. I'm going to go ahead and move things around. And it absolutely positively worked. A lot of times, we get on managers for a lot of things that they do or don't do or we want them to do. But this was a great move by Alex Cora. And I said it last week. I love the fact that he's the manager of the Red Sox because When it comes to October, what he did these last couple of weeks has been absolutely phenomenal in his coaching. It just really is. I mean, pushing all the right buttons. I mean, having a guy, Jose De Leon, pitching on Sunday, who we didn't even know was on the Red Sox on Saturday, and he goes out and pitches 6 2/3 innings in a game, that the Tigers had to have, and the Red Sox win that one. I mean, it was again, he's pushing the right buttons, and the same thing with Councils. He does the same thing, and you'll see the same thing. I'll say with AJ Hinch and the Tigers. They know how to use the bullpen. They know how to do the little things to win games for their teams come October.
T, what do you got? First day observations.
Like you said, if you can get to 2, you're probably going to win this game because not a whole. I mean, runs are at a premium today. But my buddy Pete had made a great observation a couple years ago when the Dodgers lost one of the. I think it was this Padres series. Might have been the next year. I don't remember. But he said we get all siloed as fans. We get siloed into our teams, right? And like our team is the best team. Well, the team you're playing is pretty darn good too. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. So, we can all be excited that after today, 4 teams are going to be up 1-0. And that could certainly turn around tomorrow and they could all be 1-1 because all these teams are pretty darn good. And we can tell by the scoring in these series so far that these teams are pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, you speak it. We talk about all the matchups and the advanced level stats that go in, especially in these 3 series. Like the dude who's catching for the Dodgers today, I hadn't even heard of him until like an hour before the game. I know he's been around for a cup of tea or two here, but that's the thing with the Dodgers is the depth of the Dodgers, and why I said it this morning in my video on our social channels this morning. The longer this Dodgers team sticks around, the harder and harder they're going to be to beat because they are still a behemoth, if you will.
Still the Dodgers.
And when we look at this, like, I think the other thing that's kind of gotten lost in this, my biggest concern with the Dodgers is the length of their lineup because we've seen the bottom side of their lineup this year not be very good, and they've been so dependent. And I mean, granted, I'm not sitting here crying for the Dodgers. When you're dependent on Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, and Teoscar Hernandez, there's a lot of teams that wish they could be dependent on those 4 guys. But the length of the lineup. The other thing I think that got kind of lost because of all the injuries that they dealt with throughout the season to their pitching staff is basically healthy now and was the most effective pitching staff down the stretch in the month of September. And again, they're gettable, I think, in this series. You've got Green, Abbott, and Lodolo if it goes 3. However, Tito wants to match those guys up here. They've got the pitching, and I think they definitely have the bullpen edge on the Dodgers here. Can they stay in these games and produce runs? And that's been the Reds' thing, is their inability to produce runs. Do we get first half Ellie De La Cruz? Because he's good enough to carry them through this series. If we get second half Ellie De La Cruz, I don't know where the rest of the offense is going to come from the Reds, and I've got a couple stats to support that here in a second. Let me throw this out for you guys here. Because, T, you mentioned that, everything could change tomorrow, and that's the beauty of these wild card series. So, hold on.
Sure.
This has been one of those kind of shows. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a couple of scenarios here. The Yankees are a plus 175. The Padres are a plus 270. And the Guardians are a plus 250. All 3 teams that are down 1-0 in their series. We got somebody checking in from the PNW. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Of those 3 teams, which way would you go if you had to? T, I know what you're going to say. If it's your money, which one of those 3 teams, when we look at this going forward with all must-win or go-home situations tomorrow, which way would you side? I'll start with you, T. If you had to make a bet on one of those teams to bounce back,
I'd take the Guardians. I think that I think that you've made a big point this year about it's Skubal, and I have no idea what happens next. Mm-hmm. And I'd be willing to take my chances against. I have no idea what to expect with that Cleveland lineup.
Mac, which one of the 3 that are already down 1-0 would you lean on? None of your
I-
reverse psychology bullshit here either.
No, I'm not. I don't think the Yankees have a chance tomorrow. I think Bayo's going to pitch fantastic. No, I would lean towards the Guardians. I mean that was a game that they could have tied easily today. I agree though. I have no, we've kind of said it, for the Padres, I have no confidence in the Padres team. I really don't. I mean, I think they're smoke and mirrors and elves. That's all I think they are. They're not. I'm not a. Stop.
Can you stop it with Manny
No.
Machado already?
I cannot. I will not till the day he no longer plays, and then I'll probably continue.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else there. I was like, hey, relax.
No.
It may be. Well, he may know his days in San Diego may be numbered because if this team doesn't win a playoff series, this reeks of fire sale.
Yeah. I agree.
Excuse me for 1 second here.
Oh, them's fighting words.
I'm going to double down on the Yankees because, like I said, they're the team in the American League that I trust the most. This is why I also don't wear hats forward ever because I look like freaking Jughead. Your pitching matchups tomorrow. Let me see if this changes your guys' tune on anything. I don't think it's going to because, again, the problem with the Tigers is after Skubal. Casey Mize will go for Detroit against Tanner Bybee. That's obviously same order of these games, same times, same channels, everything. That is the nice thing that I do like about how they've done this format. So Mize and Bybee in the first game. Dylan Cease and Andrew Kittredge is starting for the Cubs. So you've already seen Craig Counsell show his hand of how he's going to handle tomorrow, probably trying to set up a Game 3 situation if need be. And those are the managers, again, that you love at this time of year because you got to think a game ahead, even though you're not quite there. Red Sox, it'll be Bello and Rodon. Carlos Rodon did not have a good first year in New York. He's been a lot better. And now, we're going to look at this, and all eyes in the Bronx are on Carlos Rodon tomorrow because there's going to be some cranky Yankees, if you will, if this thing goes out 2-0 to the Red Sox. And then already announced for tomorrow at Dodger Stadium, game number 2, regardless of outcome tonight, Zach Littell will start for the Reds against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So interesting setup there as we go forward. I saw this today, and I wanted to run these by you as we get ready here for the rest of the postseason. And I can't wait till we slide in the other teams. I know people up in the Seattle area are jacked right now. The Mariners awaiting a winner, which that's something that hasn't happened since, hell, I think I had just barely gotten out of high school the last time the Mariners were a division champion. Cal Raleigh, I'm going to blow some stats by you here since we're still going to talk about the great debate of the MVP. Cal Raleigh allowed 0 passed balls this year. Not a single freaking one while he's hitting 60 home runs. Byron Buxton did not ground into a single double play, the only qualified player all season who did not. Josh Naylor, this one blew my freaking mind. 30 stolen bases despite having the second slowest sprint speed in all of baseball. That's a lot of S's to get out of your mouth. Alejandro Kirk is the only guy slower in sprint speed, for those of you wondering.
He's slow.
Jose Ramirez had a 318 batting average and a 916 OPS on 0-2 counts this year. The major league average in 0-2 counts was a $155. I don't think any of us outside of Cleveland, Ohio, have ever really. Mac, I know you've talked about this a little bit with Ramirez, but I don't think any of us really, for the most part, have appreciated how damn good of a baseball player Jose Ramirez is. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is not an exaggeration at all. If he was in New York, if he was in Boston, he'd be on par with an Aaron Judge. His numbers are that good. He's that good. He's that good a player.
I think that's a great assessment there. This one blew my friggin' mind because I'm sure we might see this rear its ugly head in the postseason. Nick Castellanos was the only player in Major League Baseball not to commit an error on defense. Even though he takes some of the goofiest routes to fly balls that I've ever seen out of a right fielder.
You can't miss what you can't catch.
True.
I'm just saying, he can't get to anything.
Plenty of open seats available at Dodger Stadium today. Way to go, Dodger faithful. Luis Arraez struck out 21 times this season in 675 plate appearances. See, this one, I made sure I left it in here for you. The fewest strikeouts in a single season since Tony Gwynn's 18 in 1998. Luis Arraez, another guy that may not be a Padre for very long, but a guy who's also very underappreciated.
Yes.
Couple more here. This one's amazing, and you guys know I love this guy. Stephen Kwan saw 1,481 pitches in the strike zone. He swung and missed just 34 times on those 1,481 pitches. There's a lot of hitters that play for the San Francisco Giants that have done that in one game. Aaron Judge had more intentional walks, 36, than Michael Harris had walks for the season. And this one's kind of a fun one, which means he's going to get beamed on opening day next year. I guarantee it. Lawrence Butler is the only qualified AL player that was not hit by a pitch all season. Guarantee you, if there's a betting market for Butler to get beamed on opening day next year, book it. And then we talked about this one last week. Rafael Devers played in 163 games this season for the now managerless San Francisco Giants. And that leads me to my next point before we do some liquid locks and get up on out of here. We've talked about the Giants situation a lot. Bruce Bochy was kind of conveniently not let go, just didn't have his contract renewed by the Rangers. And I don't think anybody thought Boch was going to be there for a long time. The same day that Buster Posey fires Bob Melvin. And I know what the talk is in the Bay Area, and this is why I wanted to get you guys in on this. Everybody wants to see Boch back, and I think there's a part of me that would love to see Boch back as well. But there is also a problem with the Giants organization right now, and the tie back to the nostalgia days of the Giants' crazy World Series run. Obviously, Buster Posey was Bruce Bochy's catcher, and of course, Bruce Bochy didn't help anything today because he said, I would always have a conversation with Buster Posey. Knowing the Giants situation as well as we all do, and we've talked about it here, if you are Buster Posey, and I'll start with the catcher, if you're Buster Posey, do you bring back Bruce Bochy? Yes, no, maybe with a contingency plan because Boch is 71 years old, I think.
Yeah. I'd say no. I would not bring him back. I mean, he's a great manager. Nothing against him. But for me, what I think Buster Posey wants to do to the Giants, that doesn't seem like the right fit to me. I think, and what I mean by that, let me explain. I think he's trying to take a more progressive, if you will, approach to kind of things, kind of a new energy mixed with a little bit of that of what the Giants were. I just don't think having an older manager like that, as good as he is, kind of fits what I think they're trying to do going forward.
Also a fan of a team with, as we found out today, no manager, and we hope the best of all best that we can for the health of Ron Washington, because that was more of a health and lifestyle issue. The game is not going to be the same without Ron Washington. But when it comes to the Giants situation, do you go to Bruce Bochy if you're Buster Posey and bring him back in the dugout?
No. I think you have to have the conversation, but I think that's what do they call it? A special assistant to the GM type of positions. Now, that being said, he just won the World Series 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you have to have the conversation and see where he's at mentally. If he wants to get into the grind, keep staying in the grind again with the Giants. I mean, he's the most successful manager they've ever had. You have to at least have a conversation.
I think. Go ahead, Mac.
I was going to say, I was just kind of scouring through a couple of articles. There's a name that is very intriguing to me, and it's.
Don't say it; you'll ruin it.
Okay.
Let me guess. Does he coach college baseball?
Yes, he does. I just was looking and I saw that and I'm like, you want to talk about a fiery manager? You know, I mean, it's a transition from college baseball, obviously, the Major League Baseball, but I would tell you I would do that in a heartbeat.
The aforementioned college coach that Mac is talking about is a national championship coach, and a very damn good one at that. The head coach of the University of Tennessee, Tony Vitello. I'll say this: I think I could foresee a situation where Bruce Bochy coming back would not be a bad thing for the Giants, and I don't think they get more than 3 years out of him at the most. Bruce Bochy had two guys working in the organization in Texas, one of whom that the Giants very much wanted a couple of years ago, and were basically told they couldn't, and then Giants fans had to go through the pain and suffering of that GQ wannabe D-bag Gabe Kapler. But Nick Hundley is a guy that is very well regarded in the San Francisco circles. He's a catcher. We've talked about this on this very program several times. Catchers typically tend to make some of the better managers that we've ever seen. Bruce Bochy is a perfect example of that. The other guy that's in Texas, Skip Schumacher, another guy that Giants people, at least from what we know now, are very high on. But here's the thing. You can bring in whoever you want to manage. And I know Buster Posey is going to knock it out of the park, for a baseball pun. But I can see Buster doing one of two things. I think it's Nick Hundley, or it's way the hell outside of the box and it's Tony Vitello. This team can score offensively, and they're going to get a full year of Bryce Eldridge. Where this team has problems is they've got dead arm Robbie Ray right now, who is, and I'm not saying that to slight him. We saw down the stretch when they needed wins out of Webb and Ray, and you know, Logan Webb, again, led the National League in strikeouts, led the National League in innings pitched this year. They need pitchers in San Francisco as bad as they need the right manager. So that's going to be an interesting one to follow amongst several other jobs, as we found out Torey Lovello is coming back to Arizona this week. So, you know, there's going to be a lot going on in the next couple months in baseball.
There's one guy who's getting ready to, he's going to manage a team. It's going to absolutely break my heart that it's going to happen. I'm preparing myself for that day. But I would tell you, this is another person who
He's a catcher.
He's a catcher. I mean, and I would tell you, he would make, I don't care if it's the Angels, I don't care where he is. He's going to be an outstanding manager. Again, it's going to break my absolute heart. And I'll be honest with you, when he does leave, I will buy gear for that team. I will be 100% on that team. I'll still be a Red Sox fan, but that's Jason Varitek. Tech is going to get a job as a manager. He's going to be absolutely freaking phenomenal. I have a feeling this is going to be the year.
Last thing here before we get to our liquid locks and get up on out of here. And then tomorrow we'll talk about how the Eagles had -1 total yards of offense in the second half and still won a game on Sunday. And A.J. Brown is not happy in the hen house. We'll also plead to Cam Scattaboo tomorrow. Cam, you know we love you. This is a big Cam Scattaboo show. I would advise you, as much as I love the backflip celebration, don't do it at home on the shitty turf at MetLife that claimed another player in the great Malik Neighbors this week. I've got something to say about those two cheap-ass owners in New Jersey. But your team, the Angels, another team that we're just waiting for something positive. And I think this year was a positive year. You talked about it at the beginning of the year. There's a good young core of players on that team. Another team that needs pitching. Every team in baseball needs pitching, but the Giants and Angels really need pitching. And we saw a couple of interesting names. And again, the names that come right after there's a managerial change. I'm going to put this up because it's a total freaking lie. Appreciate that, Coach. Thanks for checking in. A couple of names that have popped up for the Halos in Torrey Hunter and Albert Pujols. Do either one of those guys excite you with a good young core for the Halos?
Torrey Hunter excites me a little bit. Albert Pujols is, I mean, he's getting paid as a special in his special services contract right now, so he might as well do something while he's doing nothing. But the idea of turning this franchise over to guys who won with this franchise is very intriguing to me. I would like to see Torrey Hunter involved. I would like to see Tim Salmon involved. I would like to see Darren Erstad involved. I would like to see these guys. And Erstad has managing experience at Nebraska, but no, it's a different ball game than majors. But I'd like to see this team go back to its past and find guys who have won in this organization. I think that would be a huge shot in the arm, especially like you got Zach Neto had a 2020 season this year, missed almost the entire first month of the season. You got Logan O'Hoppe who kind of tailed off at the end. I think he's just working through some maybe just trying to still get used to, like last year was his only first full season in the league. So you got a lot of solid young players. You got Joe Adell had a breakout season this year.
Joe Adell was one of the best power hitters in the American League. I know that's a comment there that you completely agree with right there.
Yeah, you can start by ditching everything that has to do with LA with this franchise. That would be a good start.
We talk about things that have seemingly changed. We were talking about the Ravens earlier and what happened to the Ravens defense, Mike McDonald. The Angels have been complete ass, for lack of a more descriptive term, since the whole Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Orange County, Mickey Mouseville, all that other bullshit down there. I'm very interested. I think both of those teams, especially if the rumors that we might be doing some crazy shuffling and realignment of divisions, these are two teams that are likely to probably end up in the same division with each other in the Giants and the Angels amongst the Dodgers, Padres, Mariners, however they configure that thing. So I think this next hire for the leadership of both of those teams is extremely important. So tomorrow we'll highlight some of the big NFL games as we usually do on Wednesdays. We'll also look at some of our spotlight games in the college football world. Guys, we have hockey right around the freaking corner. When I was turning the games on, the office TV in here, there was actually a preseason game on. Threw me off a little bit. The NBA is going to be here before we know it. College basketball is not that far down the road. We're just starting the baseball playoffs. It is a fantastic time to be alive. If you're watching out there, we appreciate you. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show. Tell your friends. If you don't want to watch a bunch of guys in suits scream and yell at each other all day long, then this is the show you want to watch. Especially for stuff like this, because it wouldn't be one of our shows if we didn't end the program with some liquid locks. And most shows call them best bets, but we call them liquid locks because they're as solid as freaking water, man. T, give me your liquid locks. Early looks into the future of what's going on this weekend, whether it be on the college gridiron or on the NFL gridiron, or maybe in the baseball playoffs. Who knows?
I'll give you one of each on the gridiron. I like Texas Tech and Houston over 50.5. This Texas Tech offense is dynamic. And yes, Houston has a really good defense, but this is a game where it's going to take at least 30 to win. And I think this is going to be an old-fashioned Texas shootout. So I got that. And I got the Giants on the money line this week. That Giants team looked completely rejuvenated. I know they're going to miss Malik Neighbors. I think they're going to slide Wan'Dale Robinson right into there, and he's going to get a lot of looks this year for the rest of the season. This is a really good Giants team. It's really gritty. I really like that.
Yeah, that's a line I'm going to be stalking for sure, because it opened actually as the Giants' favorites, and now they've kind of moved to a slight underdog there. I think that's going to flip-flop a lot going into this weekend. Jackson Dart, fantastic. You couldn't ask for a better debut. And Dart and Scat is the energy influx that they need for Big Blue there. I mean, we're not saying that they're going to be a playoff team here, but at least they won't be dog shit to watch. And I put the I in team, Russell Wilson, can stay on the bench behind Jackson Dart. There's not a whole lot that jumped off the page at me. Playing around with some goofy stuff in my head, like Cal Raleigh hitting 2 home runs in the Mariners' first playoff game. I might double down on the Yankees here to come back and win the series against the Red Sox. I saw that side eye there. But the only one that I really, really kind of like, and it was weird for me to come to terms with this, but Iowa State, we talked about Rocco Beck and the moxie of him, and they handled Arizona last week. They're on the road in an early kickoff at Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati to take on 3-1 Cincinnati. Again, Iowa State is 5-0. Iowa State is actually a road dog in this game to Cincinnati. I think this is a tricky spot for Iowa State here, coming off of another dominant conference win. They've got back-to-back road games this week at Cincinnati, at Colorado. The Cincinnati team is a little frisky. I'm taking the Bearcats on the money line, and Teoscar Hernandez just took a ball for a ride. It is 4-0, Los Angeles. Hunter Green, throw fast. The ball leaves the yard fast, man. That was a freaking meatball right into some guy who probably couldn't name 6 guys on the Dodgers in left field. But Teoscar's the wild card, if you will, for the Dodgers. This guy gets going. Mm-hmm. That's a freight train.
Right.
The guy we created liquid locks for in the middle, Mr. Beantown himself. What you got for us this week, Vegas Mac? And if you're watching, I advise you to grab a pen and a piece of paper because this is going to go all over like a Rand McNally. So go for it.
I had a lot of fun with the Friday night games last week, so I had to throw in a Friday night game this week. I'm going to take West Virginia plus 19.5 at BYU. I know BYU's a tough place to play, but the Mountaineers are going to do this. They're going to go out there on that Friday night, and they're going to probably lose, but as long as they keep it, around with the 19.5, I'll be happy with that. And then I'm going to go, Virginia played a great game last week. We all know that. But you know what? I'm going with we just beat a good team. We're going to take a kind of a step back here just a little bit. And Louisville, they were down in their game all last week, and then they came back in the last bit and they won. So this line opened at 6.5. It's now at 7. I don't care. I'm still going to take Louisville minus the 7 in this game over Virginia. And then to wrap it up, I'm so pissed off at Nebraska. I'm taking Michigan State. It's opened at 10.5. It's now up to 11.5. I hope Michigan State just runs them into the ground.
Rob Lowe and Jerry O'Connell are on my screen. That would be because Tommy Edmond just followed Teo Hernandez with a solo shot. It's 5-0 in the third now.
I hate the Dodgers crowd. I hate that. It's just so...
Wow.
I hate the Dodgers crowd.
Aggressive, don't we think?
Man, it's the truth. I mean, come on. Although
just because most of them don't know anybody outside of Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts, it's not a reason to hate them.
I will tell you the one time I went to see the Giants play, and my son just absolutely loved this. Hugh Jackman was at the game.
Yeah, I could do without the celebrity sightings. It does nothing for me.
I know. I'm just saying.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to commit to the bit right here. I only gave one liquid lock. I'm going to give the second one. I don't know why I'm on the fence with this because we're going to see 2 of the worst third down offenses and defenses in all of college football battle each other this weekend. Give me Texas in the swamp to pound the Gators and open said door for Billy Napier to see said self out the door this weekend. Minus 6.5. I thought the number was going to be a little bit bigger. I can see it at 6.5 though because Texas is on the road. All right, there's plenty of stuff. We're gonna try and keep you up on all of it. Here's a genius stat. Thanks for this one. Postseason teams have an .834 win percentage when out homering their opponent. Kind of seems like that would be pretty effing obvious, but hey, we can now all rest easier knowing that. So, college spotlights tomorrow, NFL spotlights. We'll see who is still alive in the baseball playoffs tomorrow. Same bat time. Same bat channel for everybody behind the scenes. For TJ, for Vegas Mac, and Mike, we'll talk to you tomorrow. We're out.